So we are here on the map of Inside and Out. So spawning here at the bottom left, we got our blue Protoss playing for the team of none other than Alpha X. Give it up for Classic.
And in the top right corner, playing as the Red Terran for the team of Shopify Rebellion. Give it up for Byun. So just at a first glance, this map seems pretty standard. Nothing too out of the ordinary. You know, we have rocks in some key positions. Some are blocking ramps completely, and then others are just blocking off portions of ramps. Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, actually, as the probe passes on by this kind of pit of fire here in the middle of nowhere. Pretty nice animation. But yeah, let's see. Now, I'm actually a little bit curious if these players has a lot of experience. I know some of them play consistently in the ESL Open Cups, in which, of course, they have used these new maps as of late. But I'm pretty sure they're still kind of figuring out, you know, the in and outs and the little details of these maps.
Right, speaking of little details, Classic went for a Cyber after the Nexus, so apparently he's comfortable enough with the rush distance, I assume, to get that later Cyber Core. But, you know, he's definitely got to be a little bit on edge right now because he sees that Byun went for that factory before a second command center, which still hasn't been put down.
Yeah, we'll see if... oh, looks like he's sending the SCV to the low ground for that CC on the low ground, as the Reaper makes his way across the map. And looks like the first adept will be popping on out. So everything, yeah, looks pretty much standard as usual.
Yep, the adept is gonna shade onto the Reaper just to sort of ward it away for the time being. Looks like a Twilight is gonna be the tech of choice for our blue Protoss.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I mean, if you look at the kind of the main base to the kind of the pocket base area, there's a lot of areas in which the blink stalkers can blink into and from, and also Reaper can jump in and out as well. As we do see these Reapers getting a lot of value here, getting 4 probes in total and getting out with both of Reapers.
Wow, that's pretty significant this early into the game. I don't think Classic was expecting 2 Reapers at this time.
Uh-oh.
Okay, they're coming back in. Oh, and are they gonna line up for the Hellion? Oh man, this is damage that's starting to add up at this point. I mean, even if the last Reaper doesn't get out, which it does. Oh, okay, my bad. It actually dies by the Stalker, but even with that, I don't know. I'd be pretty happy with that kind of damage if I were the Terran.
Oh yeah, I mean 1 Hellion and 2 Reapers for 8 probes. That is you know, if I was a Byun, I would be very happy with that.
Yeah, not to mention there is going to be a small Widowmine follow-up. I don't think that there are any Stalkers at home left to defend because, of course, they did go across the map. Are they going to get the... Oh, wow, the bunker just barely doesn't finish. Of course, that SCV just has to put the, you know, last few touches on the exterior to finish it. And, of course, the recall is going to be forced because of the Widowmines. Good reaction time by Classic, but the mines are going to go back into the natural, and some of the SCVs are clumped up. One SCV does get left behind, so both players are doing their best to out-micro each other.
Yeah, this is quite annoying for Classic, of course. Oh.
Oh! Okay, at the last second. So it is going to burrow just... Oh, the manual retargeting. Oh, onto the edge probe. That way it could also get some more of the mining probes from the gas geyser, actually.
Yeah, so all in all, 12 probes going down before the 5-minute mark, which is kind of painful.
Oh yeah, I mean, as the Protoss, you want to be significantly ahead of the Terran player in terms of worker count at this stage in the game. But I believe Classic is only 2 workers ahead, 42 probes to 40 SEVs. So definitely not comfortable with any sort of economic advantage right now.
Alright, looks like we have a backdoor Raven coming from Byun. Let's see how much more probes. Man, at this point, at this rate,
Man,
we might need we might need to build a memorial for probes.
Oh man. Plus the Raven, did it get out? Yeah, it did. It's just barely off to the side. Couldn't see it over my overlay. So is it gonna get more damage? I don't think so. I think the Stalkers. Oh, funnily enough, that blink kind of hurts Classic a bit more. Oh, poor Sentry. That's actually a lot of gas that is gonna cost the Protoss. So yeah, right now the Observer has made its way across the map to Byun's base, and it's gonna start sort of sharking around, trying to keep a tab on the army, which is about to move out. So this is a pretty crisp timing, right? We're gonna see charge complete at the same time that this stim timing hits. And it's, I don't know, I feel like it could hit pretty hard. I mean, of course, the Protoss is supposed to be ahead in supply, and that's just not the case here.
Yeah, I mean, total supply, he is down. Army supply, he is down 55 to 29. The only thing he's ahead in is the probes, but that's only because he lost so many probes that he has kind of overcompensated and try to make up for those probes. But of course, that does leave him vulnerable to an attack.
Yeah, and these Stalkers have not been able to buy any sort of time. I mean, right there, they're basically in front of Classic's own main base as they try to do their Blink Micro. Now, there is a Warping of Zealots. They are going to take care of the 2 tanks. The Raven does go down, actually, so Classic is handling this quite well. That Immortal in the back doing its best to, you know, keep the rest of the Marauders at bay. So, for now, Classic is going to hold, and, you know, obviously this means that the game is far from over. Classic is still at a disadvantage, but he's basically sort of bought himself a bit more time.
Yeah, now +1 has finished, so that will even up the upgrade. So the next fight, it should theoretically be a bit, you know, more efficient. But boy, that is still a lot of Bao units here for Byun.
Right.
He still has a significant army supply lead here, which is not the most surprising thing, you know, for a Terran versus Protoss, but usually the Protoss will need some sort of splash damage to kind of even it out, but right now, Classic doesn't really have that splash damage.
Oh man, and this bio is going to start kiting back as the rest of the mechanical Terran units are cleaned up. The Immortal goes down. Stalkers have been blinked back, but there's nothing to cover them as they retreat. Just a few Zealots, but this Bio Force just barely is going to hold on. Oh man, I mean, it will get cleaned up as the next Warpin comes in, but on, you know, behind it we see a bunch of Widowmines, we see a bunch more Bio, we see a bunch of Medevacs. Like, this is not gonna go well. I think that this could be, depending on how this next fight goes, right, it could be the start of a comeback or the start of the end for Classic.
Yeah, I think Classic just right now just praying that Byun will mess up really badly. But it's kind of hard to see Classic's kind of comeback maneuver here, as he doesn't have a disruptor, he doesn't have DTs roaming around, he just has basically an Immortal and a bunch of gateway units. Now those gateway units had like 2/2 upgrade versus the +1 right now. Byun then maybe, but right now the upgrades are even.
Oh man, and so many Widowmines. I love this response by Byun to go for the Widowmines, switching out of tanks because he does see that there are going to be a bunch of Zealots. Now there is a small Zealot run by trying to take care of the natural base as well, but there is of course that bunker from earlier able to help out. But still, once again, Byun is pushed back with his main army. Some Stalkers, some Immortals, and some Zealots are enough to hold the ground for now, and I don't know, man. I mean, I obviously, right, we're both rooting for Classic here. He's got a Disruptor on the way, he's got 2 Disruptors on the way. His +2 is about to finish. And wow, I just noticed this. Byun's 2/2 just started. So in terms of upgrades, they're actually going to be quite even.
Ah, yeah, that might have been a little bit of a mistake there from Byun. I think maybe he was too focused on the attack there. He forgot his 2/2. So that's going to be an opening here for Classic to kind of climb himself back into the game. However, he's not out of the woods yet. But with the disruptors on the way, maybe he got. Oh!
You're kidding me? No way. Okay, the first disruptor hit is pretty good. But okay, so this is where things could go wrong for either player, right? They're both out on the map. You know, there's a lot at stake. Oh man, I just have to say, how did Classic have that intuition? Did he scout with the pylon, or maybe it's because the observer saw that the army was moving out, so he sort of guessed, or you know, sort of knew the timing at which the bio army was going to be in that location at that time. All in all, I'm very impressed with that disruptor shot, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And let's see if Classic can get one of those juicy disruptor hits once more. Byun doing a nice job kind of peeling back, trying to dodge those disruptors.
Nice blink from the Stalkers to avoid the... Oh, actually that disruptor did get sniped before the Nova finished. I think that the Stalker micro was probably distracting Classic a little bit. So Byun is doing a good job of, you know, kiting back, but I don't know if it's good enough, right? Like, look how much bio has been shaved off. You can sort of tell by the ratio of bio units to medevacs, right? If you have a bunch of medevacs and not that much bio, it means that you've actually lost a lot of bio, of course. And so we're going to see once again another engagement out in the middle of the map. Okay, a decent hit, but yet another disruptor does get sniped off, and of course that Widow Mine is going to be a nuisance. These Stalkers alone, they're not going to be able to deal with this. The bio is going to sort of... Oh, okay, well, that's an interesting hit. The Bling Stalkers are going to try their best to fight this, but they will retreat back to the safety of the shield batteries, and that, once again, like Byun, there's got to be a better way to close this out, right? With every fight, the supplies get closer and closer.
Yeah, he's kind of really taking the brunt of these disruptors, these disruptor shots, these past couple of battles, and that has kind of evened up the supply. Now all of a sudden, you know, Classic, he's still in it. The 2-2 has finished for Byun, so he's gonna have a 1 upgrade lead. But with disruptors, that doesn't really matter as much because, of course, there are kind of those one hit type of units, or yeah, one hit type of units where, yeah, even if you have a +1 armor or +1 attack, and, you know, your units are still going to die in one shot. So here we go, another disruptor hit does get cancelled though as it gets sniped out. Another one shoots out, doesn't get as much, but Classic once again staying alive.
Alright, we see that 3-3 starting for the Terran player. Of course, +3 is already almost done for the Protoss. Once again, Classic just trying to keep the bio off of his base, trying to engage sort of in the middle of the map. Maybe both players are trying to get a feel for the terrain, which I would totally be okay with. But yeah, I do have to commend them both for being able to keep up with their macro in the midst of all this, right? Both players have been taking new bases, they've been keeping up with their spending and all that. Like, that's very difficult when you're in the middle of these big micro fights. For example, here, oh, and just barely one medevac gets filled up with all those bio units before they get sniped by that disruptor.
Oh man, here comes Classic. He is inching forward into the base of Byun, the dirt base of Byun. And actually a lot of these disruptors get sniped out though.
Yeah, there was a huge misplay there. I mean, not that it's easy or anything, but the Novas were box selected along with the disruptors, and so for a while there, the disruptors were mismicroed. They were just sort of moving around for the bio to shell away at them. So that was very costly for our Protoss player. Luckily, he does have 4 disruptors already back out onto the field. He does have these DTs, which are going to sort of, you know, body block the bio for just a little bit. I don't think either player, or at least I don't think the Terran player noticed. But it's going to be interesting to see how all these DTs are going to force Byun to react. Now, of course, the bio is going to find the 5th base location. The Stalker, the Blink Disruptor, is going to force it back for a little bit. DTs are still running around trying to see whatever damage they can do. Oh, and actually they're going to flank the bio units. Look at that. That's actually... Oh, and the Blink too. I love it. The double Blink. Crazy.
Oh my goodness.
talk about bad fights, right? I mean, losing a few disruptors for this kind of fight, I would be okay with that.
Alright.
Oh, man. Oh, and that's right. I always forget that disruptors also deal damage to buildings, which is pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not the greatest, but if you have a surplus of disruptors, you know what? You might as well just hit the buildings.
Right, right. And all of a sudden, look at the supply, right? Like, Classic just shot up in comparison to his opponent. This was very, very well played by our Protoss player. A pretty big comeback here in game number 1, I'd say.
Yeah, those disruptors really saved the day for Classic, and then of course those DTs, kind of the cherry on top, to pretty much clear out a huge, decisive lead here for Classic. And now Classic gonna fall back for the time being, gonna maybe want to go ahead and expand, get ahead a little bit more, and then go for the finishing blow.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what would you think about Colossi in this situation?
Oh,
Because I feel...
Yeah, I love it because right now, you know, he has those disruptors, but Byun just trying to eke out all the bio units, no Vikings on the production. So if he can kind of go for the Colossus, that might be just a checkmate move there. In case, you know, all his disruptors does get sniped out, at the very least he will have Colossus to fall back on. Right now, I don't think he even really needs it, as these disruptors and stalkers might just be enough just to finish the game.
Right. Now, I will say it is a pretty marauder-heavy army, but regardless, I mean, it's not going to be able to deal with all of these disruptors. I mean, look at that count. It's just ridiculous. Stalkers are going to blink on forward for what I think is going to be the last time. Disruptors are going to shoot out their Novas. They're going to clip some of the bio units. Some of them are going to whip. The Ghosts are doing their best to, you know, try to make something happen, but now the first two Colossi have joined the army, and this is where the damage becomes a lot more consistent. Again, not that it needs to be consistent, but it's just a nice sort of finishing touch to this army. Oh! A couple of Zealots did get clipped by the friendly fire, but that is GG. Classic is going to take game number 1. Wow, I just noticed something very interesting. Byun has at least five camera hotkeys. So in the minimap, we are able to see, and this is a feature that I really, really like, as you know, Snoopy. We're able to see where the player cameras are at all times. So I think that Byun was setting up 5 camera hotkeys. That's pretty cool. I thought that most players would stick with 4 or something, but of course, pro players are, you know, a different level.
Yeah, I think I've seen some go for like 6 camera hotkeys.
Right.
Me personally, I stick with 4, but I'm not a professional player, so I could get away with it. How about you?
Are you sure? What if you're actually classic and you're like, I don't know, sniping right now? You're casting and you're playing. That would be a plot twist. But yeah, same here. Just 4 camera hotkeys. Yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary. I feel like hotkeys in StarCraft are pretty diverse. Like, I've heard people playing with, you know, complete default keys. I've heard of people playing with grid, as I do. Some people play with core, which I've never even tried. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool that so many people use so many different hotkey setups, and that includes camera hotkeys.
Yeah, it's you can customize your hotkeys as you like, which is the great thing about StarCraft 2, because of course everyone plays a little bit differently.
Right. Speaking of which, I don't know if you heard about Stormgate by any chance, the new RTS that Frost Giant announced.
Yeah, I saw the short cinematic preview of it.
Right. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think well, I heard some people say that the the CGI or the special effects not as refined as normally a Blizzard, but it's understandable. Blizzard Entertainment is a more high, or is a bigger company, of course, so they have more resources. But considering the kind of the lower staff members, I think it looks pretty good. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I was less focused on the graphics, which, honestly, if you run an R7 250, you'll learn pretty quick that graphics cannot be your priority. Speaking of which, I'm trying to get a 3070 right now, so I'm like camping out Best Buy every other day. But anyways, yeah, the graphics, they looked fine, and honestly, to somebody like me, it looked pretty high tier. I'm more concerned about the state of it being, as advertised, the next big RTS, right? We're going to get a lot of StarCraft players migrating over, or at least trying out that new game, including myself. And, I'm very cautiously optimistic. I don't want to be like that Oracle and just get shot down immediately.
That would be a very sad day if you were gunned down like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, Micro X in the live chat saying cinematic was made in engine. All right, that's good to know.
That's fine. All right, so these Marines, of course, they do not have stim yet. They don't have their full micro potential unlocked. That Cyclone, though, is going to do some damage. I believe it already killed off one Stalker. Is he going to be able to get a second one? I think so.
Yep.
Being a little bit extra with the movement. I love it.
Oh, looks like Cyclone was cleaned up. But looks like Classic giving chase here, and there's actually no bunker, but with the high ground, looks like Byun should be able to defend for the time being. And I don't know if you saw the last episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I knew it. I knew we were going to get around to that somehow. Because we did talk about that last time. Oh,
yeah,
look at that, stim.
Yeah, but we did it on Monday, and we talked about it on Monday, I believe. And
right.
And the last episode came out on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of it?
Yeah, well, because I was just talking about the high ground. I was like, there was a moment where, and
right.
By the way, spoiler, guys.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the episode, you might want to cover your ear. But yeah, there was a moment where I think we were all thinking of it where, yeah, it was like Vader could have said it. I had the high ground.
Right. That would have made it such a cheesy moment.
Yeah, but we were all thinking of it.
Right. Exactly. Oh man, that duel though, I think that was very impressive. It was. I definitely don't have my hopes up for the Disney era of StarCraft. Star Wars, I'm sorry. Please, Disney, do not buy the franchise. A little bit distracted. But yeah, I really did not have my hopes up for the series, but I don't know. I think that the last episode sort of wrapped things up very nicely. Much nicer than I expected, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that was a great fight. I think one of the better lightsaber fight in the StarCraft 2 archive.
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was very well done, and I think. Oh, actually, let's hold that thought as there's a Byun move out. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get on top of this dirt base. There is a shield battery, but no energy on it. Shield battery overcharge does get activated in place of that, but some nice force field buys Classic some time, and with some additional warpings, looks like he will push us back.
Wow, very nice. I was about to say that it looked a little bit Stalker heavy, so I wasn't sure if Classic was actually going to be able to hold. But with the shield battery and with those force fields, just making it a little bit difficult for Byun to actually maneuver the bio such that he can output consistent DPS. That was a very good hold by the Protoss once again.
Yeah, I think that's what Blizzard had in mind with the shield battery overcharge spell, I guess, option there, because You know, if it normally was just a regular shield battery back in the old days where there was no shield battery overcharge, then the energy would drain really, really quickly, and you know, Classic might have to throw down like 6 shield batteries or something like that to hold on. But with shield battery overcharge, that does allow Protoss to be a bit more sturdier during engagements like those.
Right. Now, once again, Byun is going for those 2 safety Vikings, and once again, we see double Disruptor from Classic. Now, question is, will Byun be able to handle this? He did not have as great of an advantage in this early game than he did in the last game. So I don't know. These Zealots, though, they are going to get caught a little bit out of position. The concussive shell on the Marauders is going to be great in, you know, just sort of shaving off a few of those Zealots, but yeah, I think Classic, he's in arguably a better position this game. Now, the upgrades are pretty similar once again. You know, the base timings are pretty similar once again. But Classic is setting up a pretty big warp in to the north. And he did have previously some pretty good vision around the map with the scouting pylons and the observers and whatnot. So yeah, I'm excited for Classic to sort of show what he can do with a bigger advantage, but this Nexus is actually going to fall, so as I say that, Classic was actually caught a little bit out of position, so those medevacs are going to be able to pick up immediately and boost out of there.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate for Classic because he had all those spotter pylons to the sides, but didn't have it quite in the pathway in which Byun came from. Of course, Byun came from, you know, through the rocks, so I believe Classic did scout that with the because his charge lot got cut off. So he did see, I think, Byun killing the rocks. I would have loved to see like maybe a zealot, a spotter zealot, putting out in front near the rocks to see Byun coming from there. I think if he did, he would have been able to get his army in position to defend that Nexus. But sometimes it goes that way. Sometimes you forget to throw down that spotter zealot, and your Nexus just gets poofed in the blink of an eye.
Right, I was just talking with a friend who's sort of coaching me on Protoss, and I realized after he told me how essential spotter pylons are that, hey, you know what? I could treat this as my own version of creep. Of course, you know, coming from Zerg, so just a very tilted, not as efficient version of creep, but it's equally essential.
Yeah, absolutely.
So interestingly enough, we're seeing +1 air weapons coming out of the Protoss. Classic is going for a couple of Phoenixes, I believe? Just 2, but adding on another Stargate. So is he going to try a Phoenix transition? Hold that thought, because this Disruptor Showdown is happening. These Zealots are going to come on forward. Some of them do get shaved off by the Marauders once again. Widowmines are doing their best to sort of zone out the Protoss player, but Byun is, you know, he's kind of angling. He's trying to take another fight. I'm not sure if he can. The sheer mass of the Stalker Blink Disruptor army is a little bit too great for him. Ooh, just barely. He's going to evade that other Disruptor shot.
Alright, charge dart run by here coming from Classic. Let's see how much SV get killed. There is a bunker actually though in the mineral line, so looks like that base should relatively be safe. Even though Widowmine connected. Ooh, juicy hit there.
Wow.
In the meantime, there's going to be a skirmish here out in the middle. Blink Stalker is doing a nice job blinking underneath the medevacs, and oh, actually a nice little semi-flank there with the charge lot that we're trying to do a run by, but
yeah, for a second it looked like both players were chasing each other. Now check this out, another Stargate, and we're seeing 2 carriers on the production tab. Are we seeing a Skytoss transition?
Yeah, it looks like it, which is pretty odd because normally carriers aren't the greatest against a battle force like this, because there are, you know, Marines, a lot of Marines in the composition that allows. Oh wow, that's a nice disruptor hit.
And a successful not blink one, but
oh man, these disruptors gets caught out in the middle. That is huge there. That really negates a lot of potential from a classic. He does still have a decent amount of disruptors though, but not a lot of gateway units as he's still trying to transition into air tech. Where is classic army?
Oh, did Byun hit at the perfect timing? Now the first 2 carriers are out, so of course Byun does know about them, and they will be enough to push back the bio in conjunction with the Zealot Warpins, of course. But yeah, now Byun has this information, so I suspect he's probably going to focus more on Marine Viking production. We do see some more Widow Mines as well. But yeah, 2 carriers at a time, you know, that's not to be underestimated. Once you go from 2 carriers to 4, the jump is pretty big. Once you go from 4 to 6, it's even bigger. So as long as Classic is able to hold on until then, he will have a pretty formidable army.
Yeah, the thing is, is he going to continue this disruptor production? Because while carriers are nice, there are still going to be Vikings out. There's still going to be a lot of Marines to snipe down those interceptors. And the thing that can really help out those carriers to supplement them is those disruptors, so that the army of Byun can get underneath those carriers.
Right. Yeah, and that it does look like he agrees with you. He did have 2 disruptors on the production tab. So we're kind of getting into the late game here. We see some pretty high power units. We see the Ghost Tech coming out, the EMP, I believe that's the Shockwave upgrade, which enables Ghosts to have a bigger radius with their EMP spell. Okay, another engagement here. We do see some EMPs going down. The carriers are going to engage the bio as well. Disruptors are not able to quite find that many targets just yet. The Blitz from Byun are excellent. That front line of Marauders is going to take care of the rest of the Stalkers. Now all of a sudden the first 2 carriers are out of interceptors. The last 2 carriers finally come through to reinforce, but I mean, that Marine army, even though it's small, it's just chewing through all those interceptors like you said earlier. We do see another round of Zealots coming in to clean it up. At the same time, a bunch of probes were lost to the north side, and it looks like that will be enough for Byun to tie up this series.
Yeah, this is actually really cool, very unique, because we have, like you said, never seen the natural being blocked by mineral patches.
Yeah, what a unique mechanic. I really like this. Maybe it's just because we've had the same maps for so long, so I'm ready for any sort of change, but I think that I genuinely like this. This could be a very interesting mechanic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say it does prevent fast expands, but at the same time there is still that other natural base that you get if you want to kind of skip the mining of those mineral patches and maybe go for a 14cc.
Right. Now, is it just me, Snoopy, or have all of these maps that we've played on so far been very open? Like, very, you know, they just have a lot of wide open fields that would probably favor Zergs or ground tossed sorts of armies, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, they're as open as an open door policy can be. This is also a map where there's not a lot of bases as well. So you know, very few bases. So each base is kind of very spreaded, and there's going to be a lot of surface area, and that is going to be something that might come into play as to what kind of play style or builds that both of these players decide to go for.
Yeah, now I do like this tech choice from Classic. He's going for that Stargate opener, which of course is pretty ideal here in that, you know, he will be able to get across all the way to Byun side of the map pretty quickly, as this isn't a cross spawn map. This is a straightaway spawn map.
Yeah, and oh, I just noticed this gold base here at the center middle here.
Oh, wow, that's a gold base.
Yeah.
Cool.
And to be fair, I think it should have even been a rich Vespine Geyser base as well, but that might just be a little bit too OP.
Maybe. That would be very fun to watch, though. Definitely. Wow, look at this. I really like what Byun did. It seems like he's kind of expecting that sort of quick Stargate play, so he's already got a missile turret up at the pocket expansion. He's also going for a quick marine drop as well. Huh, this could actually be the perfect counter to what Classic is bringing to the table.
Yeah, although he's gonna have to be careful because there are Phoenixes out in the field, so he definitely doesn't want to have his marine drops scouted. Actually, it looks like he's gonna go for the Raven first, and we'll just mainly use the Marines to defend for the time being. But yeah, it looks like both players are just gonna go ahead and just kind of feel each other out, just kind of respecting one another. And here we go, Phoenixes dive on in here. We'll pick off a couple of SCVs, not too many here.
Yeah, this Raven first opener, or this Raven opener is very safe, which is very interesting to me because, of course, we did see that early NG bay for the missile turrets, but Byun also took advantage of that, already having completed +1 for his bio units. So, oh, okay, I see what he's doing. So he's also getting +1 armor for the bio, so it's not like it's going to be a quick +2 timing or anything like that, which, of course, would not make sense because he didn't get an armor yet. Now, we do see charge on the way, and a bunch more gateways for our Protoss unit, Protoss player as well. But it looks like the Widow Mines are going to be targeting... Ooh, they are going to get some valuable army units, 1 Adept and 1 Sentry, setting Byun up for this big Marine push as well. We, of course, did see some, some probes going down as well, but not quite as many as we've seen in the past. Now, I don't think 3 Stalkers is going to be enough for all of these Marines.
Oh yeah, probes being pulled as well, and this pylon is going to be so important. I mean, that's pretty much an Artosis pylon if there ever was, or I guess only 3 buildings, so semi-Artosis pylon there. But it looks like Classic with the probes being pulled will be able to defend, but man, 10 probes, that was
Oh, and 6 more in the main because that Widow Mine was allowed to stay there.
Oh,
wow. So this could be a game-changing moment, what we just saw here. Of course, Classic taking a lot of damage from the Marines in the front, which did, I almost forgot, have +1, so they were probably chewing through those probes at an even faster rate.
Yeah. By the way, my apologies. The score was actually 1-1. Thank you, Cynical Death, for reminding me. But yeah, it looks like it's not going to be a 2-0. And Byun looks like he is going to go ahead and potentially take the series lead here, 2-1. I mean, he's definitely set himself up right now to have that opportunity to do so, as that attack was just quite devastating for Classic. Now, he's still not completely out of it. I mean, he still has 3 bases, right? Right. And he does have a little bit of a lead here on the worker count. So maybe if he can buy some enough time here to, kind of rebuild himself, maybe harass a lot with these Phoenixes, keep the Terran busy on his side of the map, maybe he can do so. But looks like Byun has does not want to go ahead and wait, as he is moving across the map with his Marine and Marauders. And ooh, nice Widow Mine hits here.
I like it, pairing up the Widow Mines so that, if one hits, then the other becomes deadly. If only one hits, then you still got some damage, etc. Now, I want you to look at the main base of Classic, and I want you to find the Cyber Core. I was gonna say that, one thing that Classic has going for him is that he has a lot of pylons, a lot of gateways, but I just want to say that is definitely an Artosis pylon. How many gateways is that? That's like...
Yeah, that's
8 gateways on one pylon?
8 gateways and a cybernetic core. So yeah, that's a full-on, fully developed, very mature Artosis pylon that has developed over hundreds of years.
Right. It's been left to age like fine wine.
Yep.
Alright, now this drop is going to work wonders because it will distract the main Zealot army for just a little bit. Now, there are a lot of Widow Mines as these Zealots are going to force the bio back. So a lot of the Zealots are going to take a lot of shield damage. Some of them will get picked off by the rest of the bio army. But now I'm starting to understand why Classic went for Phoenixes on this map. Not necessarily for the harass potential because, of course, Byun was more than ready for it in most scenarios. But also for defensive purposes. It's good for catching drops. It's good for shaving off just a little bit of bio here and there where you can when it comes to things like rallying, reinforcements, that kind of thing. Oh, excellent splits with the Phoenixes. Okay, that last split was not as good, but of course Phoenixes can tank more than one hit. But yeah, now this bio army in the middle is going to catch the main Zealot force, and this main Zealot force has no reinforcements coming into other than that one warp in from the right-hand side, but no shield batteries or anything like that. Phoenixes are going to join the fight. This could be the beginning of the end. This Bioforce is still standing strong, and only 3 Stalkers, 2 Stalkers, and 4 Phoenixes are left to defend.
Yeah, Byun marching on forward here. More reinforcements coming for the red Terran player, and I think this might just be it, as Byun is going to force Classic to tap on out. Byun gonna go up 2-1 in this best of 5 series.
I feel like I've seen some of these maps, or like this style of map before. I'm not really an old school player. I was not a Wings of Liberty player. A family member bought Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty for me, but I didn't really play until Legacy, until like 2018 Legacy actually. So I'm like fairly new when it comes to this, but I could have sworn there's some Heart of the Swarm map that is very similar to this, like with the half base in the corner of the map.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think, yeah, I mean, even the last map, that kind of reminded me of one of the actually the 4v4 map that I.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Team maps.
Yeah, I mean, but I definitely know what you're talking about.
Right.
There seems to be some sort of nice little attempted maneuver there by Byun. Kind of ends up in a little bit of a fail, but I like the attempt. But anyhow, I could there's seems to be a lot of influence or inspiration from previous maps, which is pretty nice.
Now, is it common for Protoss to go for a quick scouting pylon, such as the one that Classic just placed down to the south? Is that pretty common in this matchup?
Wait, scouting pylon?
To the south of the natural of Classic?
Oh, the spotter pylon. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so,
spotter pylon.
Yeah, so in the let's say around the 4 to 5 minute mark, it's usually the time when you would see Terran players like do Widowmine drops, and so those spotter pylons, you would sometimes commonly see it from Protosses just to make sure that they spot the Widowmine drops, or maybe even a Raven flyby of some sort, so that they have a bit of extra time to respond. So yeah, that's not too unusual normally.
Right. Okay, so it looks like Classic is going to take the pocket base as his third. This pocket base is, I mean, I called it a half base earlier because I think it has fewer mineral patches, as well as one less gas geyser. So in reality, it really is just like a half base.
Yeah, that's a very reminiscent of what you see in team maps nowadays, but
right.
pretty new in the 1v1 map arena. So yeah, seems like the map makers are being a bit creative nowadays.
Okay, nice stasis trap. It is going to catch, what is that, 5 Marines? So, wow, okay, Byun is actually just going to go home immediately, recognizing that he will not have the numbers to contest this at all. So, wow. I mean, Classic didn't even need a shield battery there. Very, very well played, I'd say. Oh man, even keeps that one Adept alive. And the Oracle, too. Just so efficient with his units right now.
I'm actually a little bit surprised how much damage that Orgo received. I swear to God, those cycle range is like ridiculously long.
Right. And especially because they have that missile animation. I don't even know if it's like a rocket or a missile. Actually, I'm going to be honest with you, Snoopy. I'm allergic to anything that's military related, so I don't know the difference between a rocket and a missile. But my point is, the Cyclone animation, because it's an animation and it's not like an instant, hit scan type of deal, such as the Marine Fire, it, like, whenever they get that last hit off, it feels like it's 2 screens away by the time it connects with the Oracle.
Yeah. By the way, the Iceman 22 in the live chat saying, or reminding that there are still a bunch of Match Arena codes left over, so make sure you guys head on over there. But after the game, maybe, because we are now in the thick of things, as we are just past the 6.5 minute mark, as Classic is going to go ahead and take his 4th base here, getting charged as well. +1 almost done as well. But also +1 is almost done for Byun at the same time. In the meantime, not going to wait for that upgrade to finish. Byun going to go ahead and stim right on top. However, it looks like Classic should be able to eke out.
Well, this is, I mean, losing all the Zealots should be fine, right? They only cost minerals, and so far these Stalkers, are they going to be able to clean this up? Oh man. That came down to the wire. Look at that. Both players just barely ending the fight with a handful of units each. Wow. So I want to say real quick that Classic probably made the best of his non-charge lot Zealots in the first wave. He caught the Terran army on the ramp, which meant that the Zealots, the bio basically had no room to maneuver except for back. But even then, it was pretty slow, and Byun was kind of stubborn to stay on the ramp because he needed that high ground vision just in case the medevacs were sniped or just in case the medevacs were too far back. So even though the Zealots, just for a few seconds, didn't have charge, they were still able to fight and, be useful.
Yeah, for sure. And, looks like I might have a little bit of a Widowmine drop here into the main base.
Ooh, is Classic... Wow, excellent reaction time. Probably saw it in the minimap. So far, only 1 Widowmine is going to drop into the main. 2 Widowmines are going to drop into the natural. Are they going to connect? Okay, very nice. So Classic is going to take as little damage as possible. Stalkers are already on the site, on site to clean up the Widowmines. So far, only 3 probes went down. And of course, when you have 4 Nexuses, chrono boosting, you can produce a lot of probes pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, that's one of the great mechanics, macro mechanics of Protoss, is being able to use those chronos. Of course, gotta be wary because you need to save some energy for recall later on, or maybe some shield battery overcharge. But for the most part, yeah, usually you want to use that on pro production for the majority of the time. But here we go. Byun's gonna go ahead and once again put on the pressure on Classic here. Gonna actually free up some surface area by killing the Rockton. Oh man!
Wow, look at that! Both disruptors were sniped by the bio before the Novas could get ignited. That was amazing, amazing play by Byun. He's probably very happy with that because those were in fact the first 2 disruptors out on the field. So it's not like there are additional disruptors available. So look at that! All of a sudden, all of those key robo units were killed off. The Immortal went down. Only Stalkers and Zealots are left. There will be a couple of disruptors coming in from the top side as well, but I mean, look at that. Could this be the start of the end? A bunch of Zealots are warping in. Not again. The disruptors were a little bit out of position. They did get sniped off once again. Widowmines are going to be on the low ground to support with the kiting. So overall, I mean, that supply dip, it tells the whole story, right? Byun was heavily he took a big advantage in that fight.
Yeah, that was definitely. Let's go ahead and take a look at the resources lost tab here. As yeah, he was definitely much more efficient. As you can see, the gases and mineral loss. And Byun, he's not letting up. He is going to go ahead and continue to press forward. This time around, Classic only has 2 disrupt. Oh, actually, never mind. The 3rd and 4th will join up into the fight. And my goodness, look at those splits.
Wow, amazing splits. A bunch of Marauders, a bunch of Widowmines, a bunch of Marines too. And it's funny because there are so many medevacs, so it's basically like almost every single one of those bio units is going to be supported by one medevac. Now, of course, they will get cleaned up, but Terran is, you know, just keeping that supply lead. And I'm sure that Byun would be able to defend if Classic decided to keep pressing with that counterattack. He will not, of course. He is probably also aware that he's pretty behind. So he's going to have to focus a lot more on that production for himself. He looks like is thinking about taking a 5th base. Yep, so he's going to put down his 5th Nexus. And he's going to stay with the Disruptors. Now, what do you think of this, Snoopy? If I were him, I don't know. I might consider maybe Storm, maybe Colossi. You know, Colossi are easier because you already have the tech for them. But I don't know, Disruptors, it just feels like maybe Byun has been warmed up for this best of 5. You know, it's like, hey, I'm ready to start splitting properly now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think this would be a lovely time to start transitioning into Colossus tech. However, it looks like he's might have enough to actually break Byun here.
Wow, yeah, I mean, just a couple of warpins of Stalkers, so maybe, you know, maybe the Terran was investing into infrastructure at the time that Classic was committing to those warpins. But, you know, so far, the Terran is not going to be broken. Both players are stabilizing. But, yeah, it looks like they're both committing to their tech paths to their choices of tech paths. The Disruptors, oh, but we do see a DT Shrine coming from Classic. So we will see something reminiscent of game number 1.
Yeah, I could understand why. I mean, because a lot of his Disruptor accounts got resetted, so he doesn't want to quite transition into Colossus, but he can still transition into DTs, which will allow him to continuously make those Disruptors while also adding in some variety to his army composition.
Oh man, those splits from earlier, you know, they're not the best, obviously, but they don't need to be the best. They just need to be good enough. And, oh, wow, Byun knew exactly what to do in that situation. He saw that he had the distance closed to a point where he could just gun down that Disruptor. He had the DPS for it with the Marauders, so he wasn't going to have to split. He was just going to be able to take that Disruptor out. Ghosts are now on the field. Well, I believe the first few did actually get picked off. Wow, did you see that for a second? The Observer was, it looked like it didn't have cloak. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, looks like the Ghost will go ahead and EMP along. I mean, on top of the or below, right? The Observer. Observer finally gets sniped out, but boy, all of a sudden, with that kind of a minute or two engagement there, Byun takes a decent solid lead there. Very inefficient fight for Classic. He kind of went out there with like very few Disruptors. I mean, with only like 2 or so Disruptors, it's really not a lot. I mean, because someone with the micro of Byun can, you know, just snipe it on top of it and then just snipe it before the Purification Nova hits. And so right now, Classic, he looks like he is kind of on the edge of being broken, but he does have the defender's advantage with those additional warpings. But he's still got to stabilize and then start utilizing his DTs. His DT not quite out there yet because of the blink, the DT blink upgrade that's still being researched. But he needs to survive for at least the next couple of minutes before his DTs, or at least the next minute or two before his DTs starts.
Right, now
ravaging.
I like this move a lot. Byun is going for a pretty big drop in the main. So this is gonna split Classic's attention. It looks like he will respond by sending a bunch of his army off to the top side. But look at that. A bunch of gateways are depowered. Now, I would have liked if Byun had already set up his main army to the south, able to respond to these disruptors and just go for a nice two-pronged attack. But it looks like he has enough in the Doom drop to just take care of whatever Stalkers and Zealots Classic sent. And wow, actually, Byun is just going to take this game straight up, taking a huge supply lead and taking the game.